So you're thinking about retiring in 2025. First and foremost, congratulations. It's a huge milestone, and it's important to make sure that you're fully prepared to step confidently into this next chapter. And in this video, I want to share three key areas that I've seen retirees get tripped up if they're not careful. Hi, I'm Jordan Lehman, the founder and financial planner at True Wealth Retirement Partners. And every day I help my clients create steady retirement income, invest smart, and pay less in taxes. And I want to share with you what's working for them so that you can retire with confidence too. And by the end of this video, you'll have the right questions to ask and a clear starting point to make sure that you address these three key areas. So let's get started. Number one, you need to make sure that your retirement budget is realistic. Now, you might have a retirement budget in mind, but here's the problem. Most people dramatically underestimate, get this, what they'll actually need. Trust me, I've seen it happen. People thinking they're set only to get hit with unexpected expenses that throw everything off balance. Now, let's make sure that's not you. Have you ever heard somebody say that you only need about 80 to 90% of your pre-retirement income? While that may be true for some, I've actually seen the opposite happen more often. Spending often actually increases right after retirement. Well, why? Because suddenly you have the, get this, freedom and time, congratulations, to do the things you've always wanted. And many retirees find themselves traveling more, picking up new hobbies, or investing in experiences they never had time for before, right? The long-awaited overseas trip, the golf membership, visiting family from across the country. These things can add up quickly. I recently had a client of mine who thought they'd be fine on about $5,000 a month, very modest, until they realized they didn't factor in the occasional, quote, lumpy expenses, like a new-to-them car from time to time or some of the travel they were hoping to take. It was a wake-up call for them. So how do you build a budget that actually works in real life? Well, here's a simple framework. First, I'd have you start with what I'll call your must-haves: housing, healthcare, food, utilities. These are the non-negotiables. But we can't stop there. We need to then move to adding in what I'll call your lifestyle costs: travel, hobbies, dining out. And please, by the way, be realistic. There's a temptation as you're thinking about retirement, will this work, to just be a little bit too compressed and condensed and a little romantic about how little you're able to live off of. Being realistic will actually guide some of the planning that you'll need to do. And P.S., this one's for free, guys. If you're married, please, please, please include your spouse in this conversation. I get it. You might be the numbers guy or gal if you're watching this video. That's probably the case. But being on the same page here with your spouse is absolutely critical. And then number three, remember to account for not just inflation, but the unexpected cost. I'd love to see you build in, of course, an annual inflation adjustment, but consider a safety budget or a safety buffer of some kind month to month for the year so that you don't get caught off guard. Now, once you've done that, you can take your total projected expenses and compare them to your guaranteed income sources like Social Security, a pension if you have it, maybe an annuity that you have. And if there's a gap, that's where your savings and investments come into play. If you want to be confident in your number, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the retired you, not the working you. Get this, the way you spend will change. So taking the time to plan accordingly now so that you can retire with peace of mind is critical. Number two, you need to set up a tax-efficient withdrawal strategy. So get this, you've spent decades saving for retirement, but how you withdraw the money can be just as important as how you saved it. And if you mess this up, you could potentially owe thousands more in taxes than necessary. But once you have a clearer sense from point number one of how much you'll need each month, you have to be strategic about where that income comes from a tax perspective. So take a moment and think about your own investments. You can even pause the video here. How much do you have in each of the three, what I'll call tax buckets? First, you can look at your taxable accounts, things like brokerage accounts or savings. And we know withdrawals may be subject to capital gains depending on your total income, but there's some flexibility there. The next bucket are your pre-tax accounts, things like 401ks or traditional IRAs. We know those withdrawals will be taxed as ordinary income and can push you into a higher ordinary income tax bracket. And then finally, bucket number three, your tax-free accounts, things like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. Assuming waiting periods are met, etc., withdrawals are often tax-free as long as those conditions are met. So if you understand those three buckets and you can know where your money is, it can actually help you make smarter withdraw decisions and avoid unnecessary taxes. Just an example here. Let's say a couple retired in 2025 and is $20,000 below the first IRMA threshold, a point at which the government makes you pay more for the same Medicare coverage. But they need an additional $30,000 in income for the year. Well, if they withdraw the full amount from their pre-tax 401k, they'll actually cross that IRMA threshold and trigger higher Medicare premiums. Well, what if instead they could take a chunk from the pre-tax account, but stay under the limit and pull the rest from perhaps a brokerage account with an insignificant capital gain or from savings? By doing so, they actually control their tax bracket and avoid unnecessary costs, i.e., the higher Medicare premiums 2 years down the line. Guys, this is the power of tax-efficient withdrawals, and making intentional choices empowers you to keep more of your hard-earned money. You saved it for you, by the way, not the government. But remember, the real winner isn't the one with the lowest tax bill this year. This is so important. Nor is the real winner the one with the lowest tax bill 20 years from now. Instead, I would declare the real winner is the one who paid the least amount of taxes over their lifetime, keeping more for their family and the things that matter most to them. And while the traditional ideal withdrawal sequence for most retirees is something along the lines of using your taxable accounts first, minimizing capital gains, letting the tax-deferred accounts grow, then tapping your pre-tax accounts next. A lot of you have probably heard this before, but making sure you stay below key thresholds, and then using your Roth IRA last because it grows tax-free, not counting against your taxable income. It's not necessarily always the case. By the way, if you're interested in my help exploring what tax smart withdrawals could look like for you, feel free to click the link below and schedule a call with me. We can chat and see if you might qualify for my free tax smart retirement assessment, where I can run this analysis for you based on your specific situation. I was actually working with a client recently where their ideal withdrawal rate, because of some of the withdrawal order, because of some of the Roth conversions we were doing and different things with their plans, some lower basis stock they have, we're actually going taxable, then Roth, then pre-tax, because it reduced taxes and increased net worth over the life of their plan. So it's not always the rule of thumb that wins the day. Finally, idea number 3, avoiding the scarcity mindset that keeps you from enjoying your money. So at this point, you've built a realistic budget and you've thought through how to make tax smart withdrawals. Now you'll be off to the races, right? Well, believe it or not, one of the biggest retirement problems I see clients wrestling with isn't actually running out of money. It's not spending it. Imagine yourself, you've just spent, maybe you don't have to imagine, you've just spent 40 years in your career saving diligently, never splurging, always planning for the future. And when you finally retired, you had more than enough money to live comfortably with, but instead of enjoying your wealth, you found yourself hesitating, worried about the what ifs. So you put off the vacations, you skip the dream RV, you're constantly checking your accounts, fearing you might need more later. It's probably not the retirement you pictured now, is it? This usually happens because the same habits that helped you build wealth, frugality, saving, careful spending, can actually become a mental block in retirement. Get this, you've done the hard part. Decades of disciplined saving, careful budgeting, resisting the urge to splurge when you could have. And I'd commend you. This takes real dedication. And you should be proud, by the way, of the nest egg that you've built for yourself. But here's the catch: spending is a skill just like saving. If you've spent years training yourself to be cautious with money, it won't suddenly feel natural to loosen the reins. Maybe for your spouse, it'll feel natural, but perhaps not for you. You need to flex your spending muscle. And here's an encouragement: start small. Give yourself permission to enjoy the things you've planned for and gradually adjust your mindset. Think of it like strength training. You wouldn't expect to lift the heaviest weights overnight. You would start with lighter ones and build up your muscle. Here's something else you want to consider too. You want to learn this skill early in retirement, during what I'll call your go-go years. You may have heard that phrase before. This is the time when you have the most energy, the best health, and the freedom to travel, explore, do things, spend time with loved ones. The last thing you want to do is reach a point where you finally feel comfortable spending, but your health or energy has declined. Give yourself permission to enjoy your wealth while you still can. Take the trip, pursue the hobby, spend meaningful time with family, because true financial success is not just about having money. It's about using it to create experiences and memories while you're able to fully enjoy them, to make a difference for people. And the same applies here. The key is to shift from saving mode to strategic spending mode, where you balance enjoying your wealth today while ensuring it lasts for tomorrow. Ask yourself this: if you knew you had more than enough money to last your lifetime, how would you start using it differently today? Would you travel more? Would you give more generously? Would you invest in experiences with your loved ones? Now, here's a simple exercise to help you flex your spending muscle. Again, choose one thing, big or small, that you've been putting off because of financial hesitation. Set a date and actually do it. Of course, having a clear and solid retirement plan is key to doing this with confidence. Knowing your money is working for you and will last removes the fear of spending and allows you to fully enjoy what you've worked so hard for. After all, financial success isn't just about accumulation. If that's success, you're down the wrong path. It's about knowing when and how to use your wealth to create the life and impact you truly want. So retirement in 2025 is more than just saving. It's about strategy. Budget right, withdraw smart, and don't let fear keep you from living the retirement you've worked so hard for. So if this was helpful, let me know in the comments. What's your biggest concern about retiring in 2025? We'll see you in the next one.